We're in Tuscany, heading to Turano, a village in the shadow of the Carrara quarry, where Michelangelo selected the marble for his sculptures. It's where 87-year-old Lucilla lives, and here she is with sister Doria and neighbour Eria.
Buongiorno. Buongiorno.
Mi chiamo Lucilla, abito a Turano, in un bel paesino, e mi piace impastare i taglierini nei fagioli.
Lucilla is making taglierini pasta with fagioli beans. First, Lucilla preps some vegetables. These can vary depending on the season. She chops up some zucchini, carrot, celery and an onion. She also adds a handful of parsley. Lucilla then peels a potato to cook with the beans.
E li fanno anche in Toscana, ma ognuno ha il suo metodo, non so.
These are Lucilla's fresh borlotti beans, which she blanched before freezing last summer. She adds them to a saucepan with the zucchini and celery.
Ora aggiungo l'acqua.
She pours in cold water and brings it to the boil, seasoning everything with a couple of pinches of salt. Next, she adds the potato, divided in 3, which helps to thicken the broth. Lucilla finely chops the remaining vegetables using a mezzaluna. The rocking motion is a particularly good way of mincing herbs and vegetables. She scoops the soffritto into a sauté pan, adding a generous glug of olive oil. She squeezes in a quarter of a tube of tomato paste and leaves the mixture to soften. Next, Lucilla makes her taglierini pasta dough. This is around 400 grams of 00 flour. She adds a pinch of salt and gradually adds around 200 ml of cold water to form a non-sticky dough.
A fare la pasta nei fagioli ci vuole una mattinata. Ci credi? Ci vuole la mattina completa. Poi secondo anche quanto se ne fa, o più o meno. Mi è sempre piaciuto da piccola, vedevo mia mamma impastare e io impastavo assieme a lei. Perché si fanno le lasagne, no? Tutte le domeniche quasi io le faccio. Mi piace impastare, o tagliatelle, o lasagne verdi, lasagne. Io impasto sempre. Io rosso.
Before she kneads it, she makes big slices in it with a knife to open it up. She learned this from her mother-in-law and says the dough is then kneaded more thoroughly. The dough rests for a few minutes while Lucilla checks on the beans.
Ancora un momentino.
In this part of Tuscany, the rolling pin is called a cannello. It's not as long as the ones typical of Emilia-Romagna. Roger the dog is hopeful for some food. But a stroke is fine. Lucilla consults her friend Eria on the pasta thickness.
Finito!
Guarda un po' se bastano così o vogliono più fini.
Un pochino, ci metti un po' di farina di più.
Li faccio più bassi.
There's a local saying to describe how to cut the taglierini.
Alti di spessore
E bassi.
e bassi al coltello, tagliati più fini. tagliati fini col coltello.
In other words, the ribbons should be narrow but thick. After 30 minutes, the vegetable and beans are cooked. Lucilla scoops them out and purees them using a food mill back into the bean broth. A food processor is easier, but this gives a better texture. She dilutes the puree with some cold water. Eria and Doria keep an eagle eye on how she's doing. Unpureed veggies can also be served as a side dish or contorno.
Possono mangiare anche così?
E col tonno, conditi, sai, con l'olio e il tonno sono buonissimi.
Lucilla takes the pan back to the heat, adding a little more water to cook the pasta more easily. Then she adds the soffritto, using the broth to clean out the pan. And while everything returns to the simmer, Lucilla rolls up her pasta sheet, keeping it well floured. Lucilla slices fine ribbons, unravelling them as she goes to stop them from sticking.
E poi qui fanno una festa nel mese di agosto che viene tutto di Carrara, di Marina, per mangiare
i taglierini
e i fagioli. Ma così,
This is grandson Luca driving over the bridge below her house. It's a sign for Lucilla to cook the taglierini. She adds them directly to the bean broth. They only take a couple of minutes to cook. Lucilla ladles the soup into bowls, and Doria and Eria get to try some before Luca arrives.
Ho mangiato di sedute con due.
Roger is out of luck.
sono un po' duri.
Duri a te.
Sono buoni.
Sono buoni?
Buonissimi. Poi è l'ora che abbiamo fame.
Luca approves, and I have to have a bowl too. I love how every region has its own variation of pasta with beans. Buon appetito! Make sure to click subscribe for regular helpings of Pasta Grannies, and come back next week when we're in the rice fields of Sardinia with Rosanna and Elisabetta.